How should a facilitator prepare for a sprint retrospective? Well, if you are like I was when I first got into this, there wasn't a whole lot of preparation to do. You weren't really thinking about it. You were probably grabbing something off a shelf, something you'd done before, and off you went. And then I read a book, Collaboration Explained by Jean Tabaka. It's an old book, but it's still a good book. And it told me I was wrong. Hi, my name's John McFadden. I'm a certified Scrum Trainer with Scrum Alliance. I'm a managing partner at Agile Center. And I've been in the Scrum and Agile community now for over 20 years. Well, how was I wrong? I mean, I had a retro, it ran, it kind of worked. What was the problem? It was, very efficient. I wasn't actually preparing, was I? Not for that retrospective. I had a generic retro in mind, and I come across this time and time again where people just load up what's in ADO or in Jira or whatever tool you're using and just use that with no thought involved. No consideration of what is this team experiencing, what would be really important to discuss, what do they care about, what do they want to bring into it. You just run a mad, sad, glad and move on. And it's dull. It's not particularly effective. What I learned from reading that book and put into practice, and trust me, the practice makes the lessons stick harder, was you need to be spending time beforehand. The rule of thumb is twice as long preparing as running. So if you've got a 90-minute retro, you're going to be spending about 3 hours preparing for it. So that is going to be getting the environment ready. So maybe you have to set up some exercises and things like that. Great. But the bulk of it is actually going to be deciding what those exercises are. I'm a big fan of the 5-stage retro framework. I've used it time and time again. It's got me out of so much hot water over the years that it's my fallback. It's my starting place. It is not the only approach, and sometimes I look at whatever comes out of working with the 5-stage and I tinker and I play around, and I would invite you to do so. Don't do what people tell you just because they tell you. Do it if it's helpful. So have a look at the 5-stage retro and think about it. What are the exercises that are going to resonate with this team? You might have a fun team, and you might have one that's artistic. You might have one that's very quiet. How do we get those people in? You've likely got a mix. It's not all introverts, it's not all extroverts. There'll be a mixture, and they'll be across a broad spectrum of personalities. So it might not be one exercise. It might be several exercises, one leading into the other, drawing people out, engaging them in a conversation that they want to be a part of. It's not all about, and I have suffered this, forced fun, being made to do things because the facilitator thinks it'll be fun. What are the exercises that you think, or if you've run them before, are going to resonate with this team, that are going to help them draw forwards to successful action? So for each of those stages, have a think about it. Where are you in the prior stage, and how do you flow into the next stage? What's the natural pathway? This takes time. Yes, with experience, it gets quicker because you know what goes together and you know your team's better and wonderful, but still do it. Still take the time to consider it, because what you're going to realize is changing out 1 or 2 exercises changes the retro. It changes their thinking. It changes the outcomes, the actions that they're going to take forwards. So you've got to do that in a considered way. Is it going to help them move forward? Do they understand this? You ran it once and they didn't really get it. They didn't dislike it. Are you going to run it again and take that pain, those hopefully less painful this time round, because you believe that when they get a handle on this exercise, it's really going to sing for them? Or are you going to drop it and bring in something that is safer, that works? Because looking at the team, they're tired, it's been a hard few weeks, and trying something new is possibly a step too far. These are the considerations you have all the time when planning it out. And once I've got a plan and I think, yeah, that flows nicely, I go back through it and I think, okay, if this goes wrong, what's an option? What's a quicker option? What's a longer option? What's a safer option? Something that they're more comfortable with. Because what I know is my plan is not going to survive contact with that team. I can't get it right every time. So I'm going to use some of that time for planning, for preparing, to think about backup options. Every exercise has an alternative. This one fell flat. It was a new one and it didn't work out. It's not a problem. If you're prepared for that situation, it's genuinely not a problem. There's no reason to stress. You just go, okay, this isn't working. I get it. Sorry, that's on me. So let's go back to this exercise that will move us forwards and get them moving forwards again. Right? This is our role as a facilitator, is to keep people focused on what matters, to get them to the outcome that they desire, as quickly and effectively as possible. So having extra exercises ready to go, maybe already mapped out in your mural or your Miro or whatever you're using, that you just pull in. You say, okay, this isn't working. Let's drop this one in, bring your attention over here, explain this if you need to, and off you go again. After the retrospective, retrospect yourself. Have a think. Why didn't it work? What was it about it? Was it how you explained it? Or was it just the wrong day? Or what was it? What can you learn from it? Okay. Preparation is about being able to deal with things in the moment. It's about crafting a retrospective that works for this team in this moment. You're not always going to get it right, so do prepare backups. Okay? But once you've got that, make a note of it. Please, I wish I thought of this when I first started running retros, but I have books and books of just retro plans that have worked for certain teams with my notes afterwards. Because the next time I'm working with that team, or in fact a future team, I've got a record of this worked with these people, this is what I learned from it, this is what I would do differently, so that the next time I go into preparation, I've got some new ideas, I've got some new things to work on myself. How do I improve as a facilitator? How do I improve as a retrospective facilitator? So do that as well. So for your preparation, please do take the time. Please take the time to consider how it flows. Don't just take something that somebody else has created, one of the current themed retros that seems to be a thing. Don't take it just at face value. Okay? Take it, walk through it, consider it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I don't know what you're looking at, but is it going to work for your team? And if you think it is, great. What happens if it doesn't? How do you still get through that retro with the team taking good actions forwards for improvement? And make sure that you cycle back in your learning from previous retrospectives. It will help you grow as a facilitator. It will help your team experience better retros, come up with better actions, and continue that momentum of moving forwards, of continuous improvement.